But yeah, let's talk about AJ, as he's come up a number of times already. So the most recent reports, obviously we just heard about what Eddie was saying on TalkSport. I didn't listen to that, but it seems in a similar vein to what I've seen on social media and when he's spoken to us at Seconds Out, is that progress on Wilder and AJ in Saudi has been very slow. Lots of reports of there not being the money and the location in place just yet, that the favoured promoters, as I said earlier, are a different group from Skills Challenge Promotions. We've yet to hear from anyone from that team, Amir Abdullah and so on, if that is the case or not. Clearly, they're exploring other venues, other countries for Joshua and Wilder. But I saw Eddie Hearn recently saying they were looking at other opponent possibilities, perhaps for the UK as well. And the two he mentioned were Andy Ruiz Jr. in what would be a trilogy fight. They're currently at 1 apiece. And Filip Hrgovic, which seems crazy to me because he's next in line for the unified champion, Alexander Usyk, unless Usyk's got a definitive other plan or they've been told there's going to be step-aside money or anything like that. You know, maybe Hrgovic feels, or maybe Eddie Hearn feels, that Hrgovic can make more money against AJ than he will in the mandatory position for the IBF, because obviously there's a strict purse split for mandatory challengers. And Hearn does work with Hrgovic as well, so it might be an easier fight to make with AJ, who is still a huge draw, of course. But Ayman, for me, I don't know if this is true for you, seeing either of those guys, they're both very good fighters, but seeing either of them in with AJ instead of Wilder would now be a bit of a big anticlimax.
Another anticlimax to add to the anticlimaxes that we've had in so many junctures of this supposed anti-Joshua versus Deontay Wilder fantasy matchup that becomes increasingly more of a fantasy matchup as time passes on, because we've been here so many times previous. Another disappointing end to it all if we don't get the fight again. I'm filled with less confidence now, even more so now that the Saudis are supposedly out of the running for it being held in Las Vegas, because that means there's even less money on the tables. How are they able to agree when there's now less money on the table? Maybe that kind of clears things up, but still that doesn't quite kind of add up to me. But moving that to a side for a second, the likes of Andy Ruiz and Filip Hrgovic as potential matches up for anti-Joshua towards the end of the year. First of all, big tick for anti-Joshua if he does do the third fight this year, because that was his mission statement. His mission statement was, I'm coming out these back-to-back defeats to Alexander Usyk. I tried to beat him. Couldn't do it. Now I want to rebuild, and I'm having 3 fights this year. And if he has that third fight this year, he's given and lived up to the promise that he made to deliver those 3 fights. And when he's not, for the last few years, delivered on having 3 fights. Not that he said he would, but he's been fighting 1 or 2 times a year. So massive big tick if that fight does go over the line against whoever. Andy Ruiz, Filip Hrgovic. Let's cross out Filip Hrgovic straight away, because I spoke to Filip Hrgovic and he said specifically, under no terms, under no vagaries, he said, I am not stepping aside. You can offer me 100 million. It's not happening. I've waited. I'm frustrated. I'm fighting Usyk next. Not Tyson
I want Eddie
Fury.
to offer him 100 million to test that theory, because he would definitely step aside for 100 million. Who wouldn't? But no, it's not going to happen.
He's probably very tongue-in-cheek there, but still, that's the point. That's his statement out there. I'm not moving aside. I want my world title fight against Alexander Usyk or whoever it is. But that's what he wants. So Hrgovic out of the equation. Andy Ruiz, look, there's history between the two of them, and in the way that the rematch went over in Saudi Arabia, it's an easy enough fight for anti-Joshua if he chooses to fight that way again. Problem is, he can't really choose to fight that way again, because Derek James's MO is to go and build back to being that destructive force of anti-Joshua. So it presents more of a risk than it does the second time around. It poses the risk of the first fight, the first time around, when we didn't believe there was a risk. So, and of course, obviously, there's that history between the two. So it's a fight in which I think would bring up some intrigue, especially because you've got that American and Mexican kind of thing over, and if it happens over in Las Vegas too, you're in that kind of territory. One that I'm not particularly too buzzed about. But I think when the fight comes around, you start to build that buzz and anticipation of it again. So, yeah, I think it's an all right fight, but you're looking tricky when it comes to opponents for Anthony Joshua if this supposed fight with Deontay Wilder is to happen next year. You need some sort of in between. And the problem is the in-betweens are not exciting in the heavyweight division because the in-between fights aren't great opponents. So a tricky situation. I think Andy Ruiz might be the best of the in-betweens that Joshua can get in lieu of a Wilder fight.
I mean, personally, if the Wilder fight can't be made, and it'd be very difficult to do this, but I'd like to see the Joyce-Zhang rematch winner in with AJ. I think that'd be a much more attractive fight, especially if Joyce wins. Games You Love says Wilder's been next for 7 years, and BG London in the same vein says I've been waiting for 6 years. So you haven't been waiting as long as Games You Love. So there you go. Jim McDonald has got a question. He's directed it only at Ames as well, which I feel a little bit insulted by, Jim. I've known you for a lot longer, but before I ask you the question though, Ayman, do you know who Jim McDonald is? Like looking at his profile picture, do you know who that is?
In terms of the man behind the mask, I've got a very clear idea as to who it is. He's a very prominent boxer.
No. But who's the mask? Who's the picture? Who's the avatar? Someone
from Coronation Street.
You're not sure, are you? That was more of a question than a statement. Is someone from Coronation Street in the past? See, this is the thing, Jim McDonald. Ayman doesn't even know who you're supposed to be, and you're asking questions to him instead of me. Disgusted. Having said that, Ayman, what's next for Dave Allen?
Well, Jim is up to his usual tricks. I think next up for Dave Allen is to be coaching his prospects, including Stevie Lieber, to win a European title over in Poland. So I think he's gearing up to that. In terms of in ring, I think he's going to take a bit of rest and maybe look to go again in the new year, probably for Dave Allen. So don't know quite yet, but I think he seems to want to have another potential outing in the ring into 2024. Feels weird talking about 2024, doesn't it? But the route to fights are still there for Dave Allen, I feel. And thank you to that specific Boxing Asylum member as well too.
And BG London says Bill Gates wouldn't step aside for 100 million. Yeah. I hear he already has. That's why he's not fighting the Elon Musk Zuckerberg winner, isn't it? Liam66 says, are Craig Richards and Felix Cash sitting out bans? Oh, shadow bans. Not as far as I know, but I am visiting Tony Sims's gym on Wednesday. So if there's any fire to be found around that smoke, I'll let you know.
I don't think that's the thing, Danny. I mean, I saw this on Twitter yesterday, and it was like, you know, because of the whole Conor Benn thing, it's the easy thing to do. It's the easy thing to do, and point the finger at the whole gym, which people do. And it's enough of it's enough loose, enough tenuous kind of nature to do that. So I do get that, but you know, fighters have been out from that gym since. Look at John Ryder. John Ryder in the most high profile, one of the most high profile fights you can get.
Joe Cordina's fight's just been announced.
Joe Cordina, exactly. So, you know, I think it's more situation specific, and especially with Felix Cash as well, which the rumor is that he's left that gym to join another gym. That's his news to announce. So I think it's just really fighter specific as opposed to.
I think it might have already been inadvertently revealed that he's joined. I mean, I'm going to reveal it now anyway. He's joined Mark Tibbs's gym, as far as I'm aware, and I think Jimmy Tibbs revealed that in an interview with us, probably by accident. But you know, I think it has been speculated at least that he's now joined that gym. So yeah, I don't think they're serving shadow bans at all. I can't see them doing that. And like you said, I think, you know, if we are saying it's to do with, I don't know, either food, diet, supplementation, anything along that lines, Tony Sims doesn't organise that himself. So I'm not sure that's true. But again, you know, we'll see. I'm sure if there's even an inkling of anything like that, I will, you know, get offered it while I'm there, see if it does any good for me. No, I'm joking. I'm sure it's all innocent. A lot of talk about Dave Allen now. They've all jumped on the Jim McDonald bandwagon. Games You Love asks, Anthony Yard next fight been announced? Isn't he on the Joyce Zhang show? I have to double check that, but I think he is.
Against Ricky Summers.
Ricky Summers, yeah. Digger will come to give it a really good go. I don't think it'll be like a 2-round job or anything. I think he'll give him a pretty tough fight. It'll be in his face. I think it'll be good to watch. You know, I'm not backing Summers to win necessarily, although he's a really good guy and it'd be but then so's Yard. Like two of the nicest people in boxing actually fighting each other in that one. Ian Watson says, I thought that Dave Allen was working his way into the fight with Fraser. He was being hit with successive low blows and he evaded a lot of the direct shots. To be fair, the low blows were direct. They were just direct into the ball sack, some of them. But they were very direct.